Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you very much for coming. My name is Marta Siembab and I came to you from Poland. And I'm Poland's only senselier. My work entails working with scent as a phenomenon. So I not only work with fragrance, with perfume, generally wherever there is some information necessary on how to incorporate scent into design, into designing consumer experience, into designing a brand, into therapy, or into creating your own personal or public image, I'm there to help. Today we are going to look at a fragrance wardrobe, but I never treat fragrance or perfume as an ornament. Of course, we say that perfume is a work of art. This is something that decorates us. But I would like you to have a look at perfume from a slightly different perspective and think about our emotional and sensorial choices that we make without even thinking about it. The sense of smell is a smell that borrows impressions from other smells, from other senses. We can say that something smells sweet, which means we use the vocabulary of the sense of taste. We can also say that something smells powdery, then we refer to the smell, to the sense of touch. I would like you to think regarding seasons. When winter comes and the world becomes cold and also empty in an olfactory sense, because low temperatures don't really allow fragrances to flourish and to travel to our noses. When it's cold, we instinctively look for things that are soft, sweet, and warm. How many of you think of drinking hot chocolate in the middle of July? I think the middle of July is the time when we look for something zingy, something tangy, something refreshing, scintillating, energizing. These are the choices that we make subconsciously, and they are also reflected in our language. Now think, if you know a person who is referred to as warm or sweet, this is someone who is likable, someone who we like to be with, someone that we would like to come closer to. On the other hand, if a person is perceived as cold, this coldness creates distance. This is the same thing with scent. If you know how to decode scent on this sensorial level, you can in fact design the impression that you make on other people in different areas of our life using specific type of perfume, if you know which type of perfume or which kind of ingredient gives you a specific sensory feeling. I would like to divide those areas of sensory impressions into three areas that touch all of us, namely power, sex, and money. When we think about power, power is something that has a very distinct smell. Power smells in a very specific way because it conveys a strong sensorial message. Think about meeting a king or a president of a country. I think the natural reaction is not to come closer to this person and give them a hug. If you see someone who is in a higher rank than you or whose social status is so much higher than yours, you instinctively keep yourself at a distance. Then distancing smells will be the ones that will convey status and also power. If you want to seem powerful, you need to keep people a little bit far from yourself. This is not only the business bubble in which we shouldn't smell other people's perfume. I think you know that in a business environment, if you stand close to someone, like at the length of a stretched arm, and you can smell their perfume, it means they overused it. They overdosed on the cologne or on the eau de parfum that they used in the morning. So this is not only creating the business space, this is also creating some kind of luxury distance between you, the person who wears the scent, and the person who can smell you. You can actually smell of power. And then, how does it work? If you think of a little kitten is warm and soft. We want to touch it, and we want to keep the little kitten close to ourselves. You would never say that about a little crocodile. right? So whatever is soft and whatever is sweet is something that wants us to come closer. If you want to keep people at distance, you should go to those sensory areas where we speak of bitter smells, smells that are dry and smells that are cool or even cold. How does it work? We need to look towards woods and aromatics. When we think about woods, woody scents very often smell in a very specific dry way. If we think about dry wine or brut champagne, this is the feeling that is not very easy to swallow, not very easy to digest. It also gives you this little touch of luxury, because I would say power and friendliness don't really go hand in hand. Let me show you what bitter, dry, and slightly cold fragrances, how they code power and how they code distance. Here we cannot talk about brands, we cannot talk about specific perfumes, but I would like you to smell either the accords that are very often found in those woody fragrances, or fragrances that already exist on the market, but without really naming them, just to give you the impression of what power and distance may smell like. Some of them will be sprayed on and some of them will be dipped. The thing I would like you to remember is not to touch your nose with the mouillette. If the substance sticks to your nose, it would be a pity, because you wouldn't be able to smell anything else until the end of the workshop, and it would really make me cry. So let's begin with a classic formula that belongs to the ship fragrance family. I don't know how much you are, if you would like to distribute the blotters to everybody, please take one from me. This is a fragrance that belongs to the ship family, which means there is a very strong woody base with a hint of citrus. I will come back to you with your blotter in a second. With a very strong hint of citrus in the top note. How does it work? It's both sour and bitter. Those are very difficult impressions. Sourness, eating lemons, is not something that we do on a daily basis. There are some more for the people who have just come. Thank you. So if you think about ship perfumes, it's like building a frame where you start with something very tart and very refreshing, mostly bergamot, and then you have a very strong, intense woody base with patchouli and oak moss. It's cold and fresh at the beginning, but then very bitter, very dry, and very cold in the base. There is nothing sweet about it, and mind you, it's not a very friendly scent, not very easy to wear, but then power is not easy to handle. If you want to be powerful, you need to be fully armed. You need to brace yourself for this feeling of power. So wearing ship fragrance requires this inner preparation for this feeling that sometimes is not very pleasant. It's like the touch of wool on your skin. Raw wool on naked skin is maybe not the cutest and the cuddliest thing to do, but then it gives you the feeling of roughness. And anything that is bitter, anything that is cool, and anything that is rough is perceived as something powerful. Woods in the base of ship fragrances is something that can be quite difficult to wear for women in our culture. We have been taught, or we have been brought up to learn to like flowers. So there are, of course, fragrances that in the frame between citrus and woods, there is a little bit of floral notes. Mostly rose. I would like you to smell a powerful feminine fragrance that also belongs to the same family as you are smelling now. However, I'm really strongly against dividing perfumes into perfumes for men and perfumes for women. There are no colors for men and women. There are no tastes for men and women. No one will tell me that salmon is a masculine type of fish and herring is feminine type of fish. It's the same with fragrance. Whenever a fragrance touches you, whenever it touches your emotions, then it's yours to wear. But culturally, very often we are taught that flowers is the feminine thing. So please smell something that is also bitter, also dry like dry wine, but sweetened a little bit with a note of rose. Once during workshops, I heard that this perfume, when you wear it, you smell like the boss. So you may judge it yourselves now if this is the perfume of the female boss. As I said, power distance. The more bitter and rough the fragrance is, then the more power it conveys. Here you go. Here you go. This is not very rosy, it's not going to be sweet, and it's not going to be powdery. It's just a tiny hint of, we can say, wilted rose. So there is absolutely no sweetness. Please remember that sweetness is not something, right? The rose is hardly detectable. Many people tell me that can you smell anything? No? So you can have the double muguet. Here you go. Research shows that whenever we smell of something sweet, we seem less competent. Unfortunately, this is what works against women in business life. If a woman likes perfume that smells of bubble gum, of cotton candy, of fudge, chocolate, or pralines, this is very nice, but she must be aware of the fact that other people may perceive her as someone who is less competent and less professional than she really is. Therefore, please remember that sometimes the perfume you like and the perfume you enjoy wearing is not something that creates the image that is necessary at this specific point. If I go to a rock concert, I dress in a different way than today. If I go to a barbecue, of course, I also dress differently. Sometimes the clothes are not very comfortable, but this is about the image or about the message that I need to convey. So again, distance is power, and distance is coolness and bitterness. For some people, there might be too much of the bitterness. There is a way to escape it, but still remain in this cool, cold area. Now I would like you to smell something that still makes the distance between you and the person that you interact with, but it's not so harsh. So we can say there is the coolness, there is the coldness, but there is no roughness. It's much more wearable, much more friendly, but still it doesn't make the person want to come and hug you. This is 5A. I'm curious if you will get the idea that the perfumer wanted to convey in this formula. You will be able to smell the accord of flint. Do you know what flint is? Flint is the stone that can be used for making fire. If you rub two pieces of flint against each other, then you create a sparkle, and then the spark can put, for example, wood chips on fire. There is an accord of flint and crushed leaves. There is no specific plant in it. It's just the general idea of greenery. It's like running two more. It's like running your fingers through wet, fresh spring leaves. And yet there is this slight note of gunpowder in it. Very cold. I would say it's mineral. If you like white wines, especially Riesling wines, and I'm a huge fan of Riesling wines, especially from the Mosel Valley in Germany, this is the feeling. It's like licking a stone. This is what I get from this perfume. Very cold, very cool. Not bitter and not dry, but yet cool and refreshing. So if you want to keep people slightly further away from you, you need to smell cool, you need to smell cold, you need to smell bitter. This is the smell of power, because power is distance. This is the recap on the first area of power. If any questions emerge in the meantime, I will be happy to answer them. If not, we can always wait until the end of the workshop and then continue with them. So I promised to talk about those areas: power, sex, and money. Then sex is a very difficult subject. On one hand, everybody knows what sex is. On the other hand, everyone would like to have this sex potion that will seduce everyone. It's like the dream of the pheromone-infused concoction that will make all men want me and all women want me and even their cats and dogs want me. Such a thing does not exist, luckily. We are very strongly visual in making our partners' choices, but what is really strongly against our choice of partners and of lovers is our personal hygiene. We live in a world in which we wash too much. In fact, the natural scent of our bodies is not there. We shower a lot, we scrub our bodies, and we do everything to cover the natural smell of our skin. We use toothpaste and mouthwash to get rid of the smell of our breath. We use deodorant on our feet so that they don't smell. We use antiperspirant in our armpits so that they don't smell either. And then we douse ourselves with perfumes, and here we are, a walking cloud of beautifully smelling creature that conveys the message of something very aesthetic, but we really don't know who this person is. Science shows that, in fact, if we have the chance to smell somebody else's body, we make choices regarding the partner for our future children by the smell of their natural skin, because this smell informs us about the construction of our potential partner's immune system. The further this immune system is in construction from ours, the more chance we have to create healthy offspring. This is why, in most cases, so in healthy societies, we are not sexually attracted by the smell of our brothers, our sisters, or our parents, because we don't want to procreate with them. If we had the chance to smell the body of another person, we would be much smarter in choosing a partner with which we would have healthy children. But this is not the case, because we cover the smell of our body with different types of cosmetics, and this is great. I think if we didn't wash and if we didn't use those hygienic products, we would be back in the Renaissance times when people washed once in a couple of years, and then they fainted a couple of days because they couldn't stand the stench. We don't want that back. But to recreate the smell of sex, the perfumer must go back into something that is actually taboo for many people, namely that sex is indeed dirty. All the fluids and all the secretions that we encounter during a sexual intercourse, they are not very clean and they don't always smell of violets. That's why violets, they are very pretty flowers, but you will never call a violet scent a sexy scent. What do we call sexy scents? The scents that smell of a human body. And why is jasmine the sexiest flower? Well, because it contains a number of chemical compounds that can be found in human flesh and in the secretions of human flesh. Because we are all adults, I think I can give you more details on what makes jasmine a sexy flower. First of all, it contains molecules called indoles as well as scatol that is found in human feces. So we can actually say that jasmine smells a little bit like poo. Then there is also putrescine and cadaverine that can be found in rotting human body. So actually white flowers, they smell a little bit like a person who first of all hasn't washed for a long time, or someone who has eaten a lot of protein and hasn't brushed their teeth for a very long time. They can also get this putrid breath that also smells a little bit like feces. And there is something repulsive, but on the other hand, attractive. We hate the smell, but then there is something that makes us want to smell it. This is what happens with jasmine. It it has this black and white, like good and bad side. It's on one hand intoxicating, it's really voluptuous, but on the other hand, it's really, really dirty. French perfumers know it very well, and they have been saying for ages that the most beautiful scent of a woman is the scent of her underwear that she hasn't changed for a couple of days. I guess in today's world we don't have this experience of not changing underwear for a couple of days, but if you want to make an experiment, I highly recommend it. You can be pleasantly surprised. So, with Jasmine, we can make Jasmine smell really nice, like a floral bouquet, and make it girly and innocent, but it's actually, the point with Jasmine is to make it dirty. I would like you to smell a very dirty Jasmine scent, and then we will go into areas that are even dirtier, that are more animalic, and that will really give you the idea of what sex and what your skin after sex smells like. So let's have a look at the... I was transporting those essences on the plane, and of all the essences I had in the bottles, the Jasmine is the one that leaked. So now I have the sexiest suitcase in Milan. Maybe I will find a new husband on my way home, who knows? I will let you know next year. So, the Jasmine. I would really like to compliment the perfumer on this Jasmine because he didn't hide anything. It's just plain dirty. It smells like the bed after several hours of sex in it. Warm sheets, warm skin, and in English, when we talk about jasmine, we not only call them white flowers, we call them carnal flowers, so the bodily flowers. They do smell like a human body. And we shouldn't be afraid of this notion that actually sex is dirty, not dirty in the moral sense. It's just dirty because we excrete a lot of different fluids during this activity. And we also get to smell different crevices and different bits and pieces of our bodies during this, during intercourse. And this is when we actually get to know the smell of the skin of our partner. Do we need more blotters with Jasmine? Yes. Just one? All right. Here you go. Your noses need a little bit of rest from smelling because, as you know, there is no good way of resetting your nose. Smelling coffee doesn't work. I hope you know it, so I should just keep you busy with not smelling for a moment. Very often people ask me how to apply fragrance, and for ages, I would say hundreds of years, we have been taught that we apply fragrance on our pulse points, so on the wrists, on the inside of the elbow, and behind our ears. A couple of years ago, one of world-famous perfumers, he started something that we call the new school of perfuming our body. He discovered that the inside of our body produces a lot of lactic acid, and if you are vegetarian and you eat a lot of dairy products, then you get even more of this lactic acid on your skin. It doesn't need to, but it may turn the smell of your perfume in a bad way. Some people say that perfumes go sour on them, and this is because of the lactic acid. If you have applied perfumes on the inside of your body all your life and they always smell good, you can keep on doing that. It's nothing wrong with that. But if you notice that a new fragrance sprayed on the inside of your body turns sour and it smells bad, then the easiest trick is just to turn your arm and spray the perfume on the outside of your arm. Behind your ears is actually one of the worst places to apply perfume because the concentration of the lactic acid is the highest there. People who wear glasses, in the evening you can take off your glasses and you can smell the part that touches the skin behind your ears. It's got this very specific yogurt-like smell. This is the lactic acid, and it can really turn the formula of your perfume in a nasty way. If it doesn't happen, good for you, but if it does, you can always save the fragrance by applying applying it somewhere else, not behind your ears, but in this little gap over your clavicle. It's also a very nice place for wearing fragrance, because if you kiss someone hello or goodbye, the fragrance wafts up to their face, and it's a very intimate contact with the scent. If your skin is not so sensitive, you can always try to spray your chest with the perfume, as long as you don't expose it to the sun. Poland is quite a gloomy country, and we don't have such sunny weather as you here in Milan very much, so we can spray perfumes a little bit higher on the chest without this risk of getting discolorations or sun irritation, but it's also a good way. And for those of you whose skin is quite dry, maybe you have noticed that it doesn't hold perfumes for very long. This is because the sebum, the natural fat that is excreted by our skin, it holds the smelly molecules on the skin a little bit longer. My skin is very dry, and I'm unlucky not to project the perfumes in a very good way, but I found a personal trick, and I always share it with people who attend my workshops. You can buy sweet almond oil. Sweet almond oil is relatively cheap. It's also quick drying and relatively fragrance-free. What I do is I wet my forearms with water, then I smear it with this sweet almond oil, and then flush it with water again. Water will turn into little pearls that I delicately dry with a towel, and this is the base on which I apply my perfume. And it stays much, much longer, and the projection is much better. So you can actually fake this sebum, the layer of fat on your skin. If your skin doesn't produce it itself, you can just buy it from a pharmacy, and it really works. Sweet almond oil is very good because it dries quickly and it will not stain your clothes. But coming back to sex, if we think about smelling sexy and we agree that sex is dirty, then the dirtiest thing we can smell of is musk. Musk is a secretion of glands of different species of animals, but the animal that is of the biggest interest to us is the musk deer, because the gland is the largest. It actually looks like the animal's testicles, and for many, many years people believed that those glands are actually testes. In the Sanskrit language, the word muska and then musk in French or musk in English actually means testicles. It took many, many years for people to understand that this is not the reproductive organ of the deer. This is the organ that during mating season produces a very strong smelling substance to attract the females from large distance. Musk deer cannot download Tinder app on their iPhone and find a partner nearby. What they can do is to let them know with the smell that they are around. And I guess maybe in ancient times people got this idea that if animals can attract females with the smell, then humans could do it too. And you know what? For many, many years it worked. But we people are greedy, and we wanted lots of musk, so we killed lots of musk deer. And then since 1970s, and in the European Union legally from around 1990s, it is not legal to use real animal musk in products, but there are excellent recreations of musk, and I would like you to smell something that is very, very close to natural musk. Then it goes under the name of Animality, so it refers to the animal musk. And I need to warn you, please do not touch your nose with it, and be careful with the mouillettes so as not to touch it with your fingers, because musks are hydrophobic, which means they repel, they push away the molecules of water, so you will not be able to wash it off. You will need to wait for the molecules to decompose, which will take several hundred hours. One of my friend perfumers, when he went to Oman, he was treated with musk chewing gum, and he was uncareful enough to put the chewing gum in his mouth. Brushing his teeth and rinsing his mouth with Listerine didn't really help. He had to bear with this fragrance in his mouth for about a week. And now when you will smell it, you will think if you would like to feel it in your mouth. I'm really, really curious. So, where are you? It's here. Oops. So, musk for you If you travel to the Middle East or if you travel to Asia, you can try to find and purchase natural musk oils or incense sticks, but it's not allowed to bring them into the European Union, so you can only enjoy them there. When it comes to describing the smell of musk, I once heard an interesting comment that it smells like jasmine with a dirty asshole. So there is something to it. Now I started to get afraid that after this workshop, people will start calling me, this is the potty mouth girl that came from Poland. Here you go. So this is musk recreated from the musk deer. It's synthetic, but the character of the musk is like the real animal musk. Now those of you who ride horses or who have the experience of living in a farm, you may consider this smell pretty attractive, or at least neutral. I still have two more if you want to. Do you have yours? You do? Okay. Do you have your blotter? You do. Okay. So okay, even our interpreters wanted to smell the musk deer's butt. Why not? But if you are brave, I encourage you to keep this blotter and to let it dry. After a couple of hours, I promise you, it will start smelling in a very deep, sensual, soft, hot and erotic way. It will lose this fecal facet of it, so it will not smell like poo very long. The longer it will stay on the blotter, the sexier it will smell. And it really is something reminiscent of underwear that has been worn longer than it should be. This is just the smell of body parts, here of an animal's body parts, but believe me, human private body parts and animals' private body parts are not that different. Those of you who own pets, you definitely know what I mean. This is just very intimate, and if it's not a taboo in your own mind, then you just need to remember that sex is dirty. So dirty flowers like jasmine and dirty animal components such as musk, this is what makes a fragrance sexy. I would like you to smell perfume that is composed almost mainly of musk. This is quite unusual. Musk is very often added to the base of perfumes also to make them last longer. It's actually not making, for example, lemon last longer. Lemon will disappear after 15 minutes anyway, but the formula will smell longer if there is musk in it. So here, this is a fragrance that's called simply musk. And of course, compared to what you have just smelled as a raw material, this will be much more well-behaved and much smoother. But it's very elegant, radiant, but also sexy musk. A very easy formula. There is no mystery in it, so it will not evolve in any way. It will just emanate and radiate from your skin as a warm, sexy veil. This is something that I don't recommend for office work unless you want to seduce someone in the office, but this is a very nice skin scent. Dirty, musky, and really sensual. So coming back to those sensory codes, if you want to keep people away from you, you need to signal coolness, coldness, bitterness, roughness. If you want to attract people closer to you, you need to concentrate on something that smells warm, on something that smells sweet. Warm and sweet sends the signal, come closer to me, stay closer to me. And I think this is something we take for granted, the smell of vanilla. Vanilla has proved to be in many, many surveys across different cultures the scent that is perceived as sexy, even though we don't really trust gourmands as sexy because they are just mouth-watering and they may seem that we smell like a big praline. But vanilla has one important component, namely vanillin. And vanillin is a chemical substance that that is also found in human milk. So when we smell vanilla, subconsciously, we come back to the memory which we cannot have. This is actually rooted in our brain before we had the links between the smell part of the brain, I forgot the name for it. The hippocampus, the amygdala, with the cortex, so we do not remember it consciously, but it brings back the subconscious memories of being breastfed by our mothers. This is why we react to vanilla instinctively in a very positive way. We like eating things with vanilla, and we also like keeping things that smell of vanilla close to our mouth, because this was the sensory impression that was coded into us very, very early. You might not know it, but we as children can sense smells even before we are born. The sense of smell is the first sense that gets developed in the brain, and when we are 3 months old inside the mother's womb, we still, through the placental fluid, we can still get in touch with the smelly compounds that our mothers ingest. So if we are pregnant and if we eat a lot of spices, these are the spices that actually prime the olfactory preferences for the child before they are born. So for example, if you eat a lot of onion while you are pregnant, it is much more likely that your child will like eating it when it is born. So you can, in a way, program the child to be more open and to be more ready to have a positive preference about a specific smell. So the first area we covered was power. Power is distance. Distance is roughness, coldness. Then there was sex, something sweet, something warm, and something dirty. So animalic scents and animalic flowers, like jasmine. And then there is wealth. Can we smell of money? Does money stink? Actually, if you hold money in your hand, then the hand doesn't smell very nice, especially if they are coins. Then the metals react with the substances on our hand, and the volatile substances, they smell in a very unpleasant way. The metallic smell of money is not very nice. But what do we mean when we say that something smells rich, something smells expensive? We need to think about what luxury is. Some people say that now time is luxury, and in fact time has always been luxury. The time taken to produce things that require the work of human hands and that require the time and expertise of people who manufacture something by hand. So let me put it like this. If I smell of cucumber, it means I can afford a cucumber. If I smell of leather, it means I can afford a leather sofa. I can afford a car with a leather upholstery. If I smell of cigars, it means I can afford cigars. So then it's a very easy connotation. What I smell of, it means I can buy it, which means I'm rich. If I smell of cucumber, it doesn't mean I'm rich. I'm rich enough to buy a cucumber. But those two smells that convey the message of wealth will forever be woods and leather. Woods, precious woods, first of all those things made of wood, like a wooden table, wooden furniture, even a wooden church, this is something that demanded knowledge, expertise, and lots of time, working hours put into crafting it. It's the same with leather. I don't know if you are familiar with the fact that perfumes started being created for the leather business, for the glove makers, in fact to hide the horrible smell of processed leather. So France has so many perfume houses because they also had the glove making houses. And the smell of leather is recreated through using iris butter. Iris butter is now one of the most exclusive components, and for a little piece of iris butter in the size of a hockey puck, you can actually buy a flat in Paris. So perfumes that smell of leather, they still convey the message of wealth and of richness. I would like you to smell two types of perfumes. One, strongly woody. You will smell something very terpentine with a touch of incense. So the godlike, bless you, the godlike qualities of fragrance. And then a leather scent that, as I said, is neither masculine nor feminine. This is just the smell of wealth. There is also this cultural image of a rich person sitting in a leather armchair, smoking a cigar and drinking peated Scotch whiskey. And it pretty much stuck with us. If you smell of cigars and if you smell of leather, it means you smell of money. The money you have to be able to purchase those raw materials. It's also interesting how raw materials, they are cross-gender. A couple of years ago, it was mostly gentlemen that wore leather perfumes. Now it's something quite obvious also for the ladies. Here you go. Here you are. Thanks. And one for you. Here you go. Of course, leather can have different facets. It can be more suede-like. It can be lighter, fresher. This is the universal image of leather that is delicate and yet gives a very strong message of luxury. And again, it may not be very easy to wear, but if you have an expensive necklace with precious stones, it's also difficult to wear. But then it creates the impression, the message that you want to convey. Those of you who took part in previous workshops or who participated in the workshops last year, they know that incense is the in thing, not only in niche perfumery, but in perfumery in general. And incense fragrances are still holding very strong. We know that their value is very high. We compare them to liquid gold. So another symbol of wealth is the woody smell of olibanum incense, the frankincense as it's called. In other words, silver incense. Here you are. So here we think of luxury in terms of things that are hard to get, and they are hard to get because they need a long time and many working hours of people's hands to manufacture them, namely wood and leather. There is some actually sad news regarding sandalwood, because we can now expect in the formulae of perfumes mostly synthetic sandalwood. We have cut most of the Mysore sandalwood in India, and it's no longer possible to cut it for perfumery use. Therefore, whatever stock there is available, it will be used up, and in a couple of years we can only expect synthetic sandalwood. The truth is that our grandchildren may live in a world where synthetics will be the only raw materials available because of very unstable weather and climate change. We can see that the number of jasmine oil, the amount of jasmine oil and the amount of rose oil declines. It's not easy to predict the incoming vintage crops of those raw materials. So I would say enjoy natural materials while we can. They will not be there forever. The last thing I would like to capture, and I didn't tell you about that at the very beginning, is creativity. When we think about creating the image of power, the image of sexiness, or the image of wealth, there is also one more area where we can simply show that we are creative with fragrance. And being creative is not just juxtaposing two things that we wouldn't normally expect to have in a formula. Personally, I'm strongly against thinking, what are the two things that don't go together, like smoked herring and whipped cream, and let's just put them in a bottle and make a creative perfume. It still needs to be wearable. Otherwise, it's a conceptual piece of art. It's no longer fragrance. So I would like you to smell something that, in my opinion, crossed the border between something obvious and something surprising, and yet it made me smile. I like fragrances that make me smile, and very often when I visited the stands here and I smelled some of the fragrances and I started laughing here and there, I could see people looking strangely at me, but this is the success for me. If I smell something that I think, oh, it's a great joke, but it's funny. It's really brilliant. This is what I like. Creativity, that it's like a sparkle. It's an interesting comment on the world. And I would like you to smell a very weird concoction of freshly brewed tea, which is now one of the main leading trends for the year 2015. We will be smelling a lot of tea. It's like the new aromatic, but here tea is mixed with honey and a touch of incense smoke. I'm really curious how you will like it. So it's in here. Here you are. The trends for this year, for the first two seasons, so spring and summer, is lots of greenery. So we are coming back to green notes, but not those retro green notes coming from galbanum incense. The greenness will come from rhubarb, a long forgotten raw material, so I'm happy to have it back. Then there is tea, as I said, and lots of refreshing mint. This is what is coming in the nearest months. And when autumn comes, we will see that the real smell of autumn will be recreated in perfumes, because formulae will be very earthy, very woody, very heavy, very baroque. And the trend for this year is generally overloading our senses with everything, until at the end of the year the baroque trend will collapse and we should be expecting something minimalist, something very clean, something very airy and pure in the year 2016. Cynics say that this is closely linked to the prices of petrol. This is also closely linked to the fact that it's not easy to be creative and come up with something very creative every time. Creativity cannot be boosted on demand. I think we all need a break from the overload of something we call the eclectic way of composing perfumes. Maybe this is time to wipe the board, to clean the slate, and try to draw something with finer lines and prepare the stage for new experiences in a way that we don't know yet. I would like to thank you for your time and for your wonderful attention. You have given me a lot of energy, and I hope I was able to convey to you my passion for perfume. If you have any questions now, I'm here to answer them. If you have any questions afterwards, a little bit more personal, I will be outside to assist you and to help you with anything you would like to know. You can always find me online, Marta Siembab, Senselier. I'm from Poland, but I work internationally, and my working language is also English, so I'm open to your assistance anytime you need me. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. There is a question about molecular perfume. There are different approaches to the word molecular, because in fact a molecule is just a name for a chemical element that has a specific smell. For example, benzaldehyde is a molecule that gives you the smell of marzipan. And if we think about molecular perfumes, it can either be the idea that you have only one molecule in a carrier, for example, ethanol, and you wear it as a ready-made composition, which is brilliant. And another approach can be that you treat perfumes as single molecules that you composed on your skin, so you become the perfumer. Then there is also the association with molecular cooking, where you use different techniques that are unusual, like very high temperatures or extremely low temperatures, or you do things to natural materials that you didn't do before, and the result is the molecular raw material that is then used in composing fragrance. There is also this or pour philosophy, where only finest hand-picked and hand-selected raw materials are used to compose fragrance. So I guess it also depends on the philosophy of the brand, what they call molecular perfumes. Either it's the simplicity or the ability for you to build something yourself, or the thing that we concentrate on a single molecule and make it a star. And then it's not the formula, it is the molecule that is the formula itself. Thank you. Are there any more questions? We have a microphone here.
Thank you. I am Sinan Girgin. I am coming from Istanbul, actually, and also I am teacher in Istanbul at a vocational high school. Mm-hmm. And then actually I am chemical cosmetology. I am involved in chemical cosmetology. Mm-hmm. My students always ask me, how can I choose my smell? Mm-hmm. And so I couldn't ask for actually so many. And what's your opinion if someone asks that?
Mm-hmm. But do you mean how they can choose the smell to make something that is a product that goes out in the world?
Yeah,
or how to...
Exactly, yeah.
Then you touched a very interesting area, which is also one of my hobbies, namely sense branding. So creating whole brands or whole ideas using sensory impressions. So if, for example, one of your students wants to make, I don't know, even cat food, right? So this cat food can be a product that will appeal to the senses of the buyer. The buyer is, of course, not the cat itself, it's the cat's owner. And you can, for example, design the packaging in such a way that it will convey the message that this food is pure. It's made of organic components. So you will not put it in a plastic bag. You can put it in a paper bag and give it the smell of a meadow in the sun. So the smell is a message. You need to think what kind of message you want to convey, and then there is something called sensory mapping. Through the process of mapping, you come to the result that allows you to use the right scent for the right message. So it depends very much on what the student designs. You can, for example, design a pen that is infused with a fragrance that helps you concentrate. And then when you touch the pen, the warmth of your hand will warm it up, and the essential oils will evaporate and it will make you more alert. So this is the working pen for you, and so on. So scent can be implemented anywhere. It just needs to be meaningful. It can't be an ornament. Many things smell without a reason. For example, perfumed toilet paper. What kind of need does it satisfy? Who has the need of smelling strawberries when they use the bathroom? Not me, right? But still, we have many, many products that are scented without a philosophy in it. So the smell, it should be a communicate that we want to send to others. It must be well thought out and well designed, because scent is an element of design. Thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, I would like to thank you again. Please enjoy the rest of the day and have fun with all the wonderful perfumes that are gathered here. Thank you. And thanks the interpreting team. Great job as always. Thank you very much.